And the title of my message is just Thank You, Lee Summit Baptist Temple. That is the message tonight. Thank you, Lee Summit Baptist Temple. And in the sermon, I'm going to be telling you different things that we're doing in the ministry, just like a little report, and thanking each one of you that have given for our mission. Seems to me that every time I ask you guys to pray for something, you always send offering. I'm not going to say how much because my brother Ched might get jealous, and I don't. No, I'm just kidding. But this year, you have sent money to help with two new churches. You send money to buy the property we're in right now. You send money when my mother died last year, and every special thing that we have, you've been part of it. And I what does words mean nothing. I just and I get up in the morning, and sometimes it's kind of hard. What are we going to do? It is hard to get this done. We have to find a way to get it done, and a lot of times we don't want to get up. But I have a I have a responsibility with you. Of course, my first responsibility is with the Lord. My second responsibility is with each of you that has given, and I want you to get good results, payback for your investment. That's what we're doing. We're investing in eternity. I think if the Lord wanted us to have a good life, as soon as we got saved, He would have taken us to heaven. Heaven is a lot better than this, my brother. Man, I wish we all just knew uh, what heaven is like. But the Bible says that words cannot describe how beautiful heaven is. We cannot even imagine how beautiful that is. A lot of times we're out looking at some natural stuff and say, look what the Lord has done. And it's so beautiful. And you say, well, I bet you heaven is like this. But heaven is a lot better than that. And, but he did not take us to heaven because he wants to give us the opportunity to invest, and someday in heaven we will enjoy these rewards. And one of the things that we need to invest on is souls being saved, people going on their way to hell. And a lot of them is not that they don't want to go to heaven, just nobody has taken the gospel to them. In the last couple of years, I have taken that as a mission, taking the gospel where nobody else is taking the gospel. And so yes, I'm trying to give results, and it's easier to get up in the morning to work, knowing that there's somebody sacrificing for us. Let's read our Bible in the book of Philippians chapter 4. Philippians chapter 4. And I'll just read verse 10, and I'll read to verse 17, and just try to read with your eyes. It says, "But I rejoiced in the Lord greatly, that now at the last your care of me hath flourished again, wherein ye were also careful, but ye lacked opportunity. Now that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to be abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthen me. Notwithstanding ye have well done, that ye did communicate with my affliction. Now ye Philippians know also that in the beginning of the gospel, when I departed from Macedonia, no church communicated with me as concerning giving and receiving, but ye only. For even in Thessalonica ye sent once and again unto my necessity, not because I desire a gift, but I desire fruit that may abound to your account. Dear Heavenly Father, I do not have the right words to express my gratitude to this wonderful church, the wonderful people of this church. Please allow, translate my words and speak to their hearts and let them know what they're doing is not in vain. And the gospel is going all over Chile, Argentina, Mexico, Africa, and so many parts of the world. And now through the John and Romans supporting Brother Chad now, who you're the only one that knows how far this is going, Lord. And it is because of the sacrificial giving of this church. Please keep on blessing them. And Lord, please keep on giving them so they can give to your work. I pray this in your name. Amen. Now in the Bible, I see the book of Philippians, and I see the book of Philippians. I see Paul writing this letter from jail. It is not a comfortable place. My wife and I, we spent 2 days in jail in Mexico, and it's not nice. I will tell you the story, but it's a long story. But we spent 2 days in jail, and we had to pay $4,000 to get out of jail. And the authorities. I mean, you speak about police brutality here. I was here, and I've been arrested, and I've been mistreated here. But trust me, when they arrested me here, I deserved it. And whatever they did to me, I deserved every bit of it. But I got arrested, and I was put in jail. My wife, and I don't like to stay. It's a nice pulpit and everything, but my wife, my wife was with me, and they told her, we can get you a room in a hotel, and you can stay there and wait for your husband. My wife said, no, I want to be with my husband, but there's no way you can be with him. Well, then I'm going to be as close as him as I can be. So they take her on a police car to the back where it was closed, where she can see me. I was inside the jail, and she was out, in a place where I can see her. Around that place, when they came to let her see it, the people around there were throwing rocks at the police car, and they were cursing and said, "This is where you get off." And she said, "Well, go ahead, let me off. I'll stay here." They said, "You really want to stay here?" He said, "That's the closest I can be to my husband. I'll stay here." One of the cops started crying. He went around and said, "We're going to work out where you can be with your husband." They called me out, and they said, "Your wife really loves you." I said, "Well, yeah, I know." "How do you know that?" And he told me, "My wife divorced me because I was spending too much time at work and not enough time with her. Your wife was willing to stay out there with those people that who knows what they could do done to her because she loves you." And we were able to witness to the guy. But we spent 2 days in jail, and it is not nice to be in jail. Paul was in jail, and he was in jail for preaching the gospel. In that place in Mexico, where I spent 2 days in jail, this lady came in when my wife was waiting to be put in jail with me, and this lady had a beautiful, very expensive dress, and in the bottom of the dress, it was all muddy. And then in the back of the dress, it was kind of ripped. And she came in, she said, "Listen, I was kidnapped. They have my car. If you get a police car, I can take you to the place where I was kidnapped. Will you please come with me?" Now, this is how the authorities are with the criminals. They say, no, that doesn't happen here in Veracruz. It doesn't happen here. And she started insisting. My wife talked to her, "What happened?" She said, "Well, I was kidnapped. They took me to this place. There's some people that are still there, kidnapped, and I forgot how she was able to sneak out, and she went under this barbed wire, and it was all muddy. So that was she got muddy, and then in the back, and somebody gave her a ride to where they, the Ministerio Público, they call it there. That's where you when they're going to arrest somebody, you go to a police station and they take them there. They put her in jail because they said that she was drunk, she was in drugs, she was falsely accusing the authorities and who Who else? They put it in jail. Another guy came in, and two guys came in, and they were just in a party, and they said, well, you robbed somebody. No, we robbed nobody. They accused him, and they put him in jail. 6 months later, we went back, and these people were still in jail. Jail is not something nice, and Paul was in the jail. I believe it was similar to a Mexican jail. The difference, they say that, as I was reading, they say that Paul was chained 24 hours to a Roman soldier, and everywhere Paul went, the Roman soldier went with him. Now, Paul writes this letter, and he is not complaining, although he had enough reasons to complain. Paul, he was not sad, saying, Lord, why did you leave me? What happened? I'm serving you, and now I'm in jail. No. And Paul was not even worried about tomorrow. What's going to happen to me? What's coming for me? He didn't care about that. Under the circumstances, Paul was very happy. In the epistle of the letter of Philippians is called the epistle of joy. Because if you read it, you see joy all over the place. If we go to Philippians chapter 1 and verse 4, the word joy that just pops out of every chapter. 1:4, it says, always in every prayer of mine, for you all making requests with joy. Verse 18, speaking about joy again, he says, what then, notwithstanding every way, whether in presence or in truth, Christ is preached, and I therein do rejoice, and will rejoice. Chapter 1, verse 25, it says, and having this confidence, I know that I shall abide and continue with you all for your furtherance and joy of faith. Now we go to chapter 2 and verse 2, and Paul is writing and saying, fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Verse 16 of the same chapter 2, holding forth the word of life, that I may rejoice in the day of Christ, that I have not run in vain, neither labor in vain. Verse 17, and if I be offered upon the sacrifice and service of your faith, I joy and rejoice with you all. Verse 18, for the same cause also do ye joy and rejoice with me. Verse 2, chapter 2, verse 28. I sent him, therefore, the more carefully, that when we see him again, ye may rejoice, and that I may be the less of sorrowful. And we can go to verse chapter 3 and verse 1. And finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Lord. To write the same things to you, to me indeed is not grievous, but for you it's safe. And then we see again in verse 3, for you we are the circumcision which worship God in the Spirit and rejoice in Christ. And chapter 4, verse 1, therefore, my brethren, dearly beloved and long for, my joy and crown, so stand fast in the Lord, my dearly brother. And in verse 4, chapter 4 and verse 4, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. There's more times when we find the word joy or rejoice in the Bible. And you wonder why this man who was preaching the gospel and is taken to jail for no crime but just trying to help the people around him. Why was Paul rejoicing? What was in such circumstances? Well, among other things, Paul was happy and he had joy because, first of all, he was saved. There's nothing that can take away the joy of somebody who is saved. If you are saved, I mean, when I read John chapter 14, when Jesus is talking, you believe in me, believe also in God. In my Father's house, there are many mansions. I mean, if you're saved, there's a mansion waiting for you up in heaven. And if you're saved, your home is going to be heaven. So why should we be sad? A lot of people say I'm crazy because I'm always, happy. I mean, my wife and I, we just gotten up, and a lot of times we travel like 10, 20 hours, and all the time we're just laughing and telling stories and about these people, about that other people. And a lot of times, you 20, oh man, we're already here. Praise the Lord. Let's get going. I mean, we are saved. We are happy. There are some things that makes us sad, and sometimes we cry, but that's not the way we live. We live happy because we are saved. And among other things, Paul was saved because he was preaching the gospel. This afternoon, I was reading the soul winning group yesterday. Went out soul winning, and one of Cookie's partner, her name is Jenny. Jenny wrote a little note we have like a WhatsApp soul winning group, and she was talking about how wonderful it is to go soul winning, and how she went soul winning yesterday, and she had a great time. And then after soul winning, 3 of her parents, she didn't say what it was, brothers, sisters, or whatever, came to, somehow she talked to them, and all 3 of them got saved. And she said, whoa, this is like a drug. I'm addicted to telling people the gospel. I cannot wait to see more of my family members and tell them about the Lord. And she's just been saved for no more than 2 years. She's been with us. The church started 2 years ago. And she started soul winning like, maybe 6 months ago. And she's addicted to preaching the gospel. And yet, we have a lot of Christians that they're embarrassed to preach the gospel. There are preachers that are embarrassed to preach the gospel. There was a missionary that came to our church, and we have in Mexico City, they have services on Thursday night, and this missionary, he's not just a missionary, he's the head on a mission board, and he came to church on a Wednesday, and it was time to go soul winning. We told, brother, we don't have service, but we have soul winning. Are you going to go soul winning with us, Brother Kevin, talking to this mission board director? Oh, no, I got things to do. Well, you came prepared to be in the service. The service is at least 2 hours. We would not. And Brother Kevin said, hey, Vic, I give you $100 if you take him soul winning 5 minutes. Man, I just about grab a bat, hit him in the head, and take him with me and get me $100. But, I didn't think that was right. At the moment, it sounded like a good idea, but I begged her. I said, listen, this is the worst place in Mexico City. If you walk, they're going to rob you. This is what I do. Go with me 5 minutes. And if you go with me 5 minutes, I'll drive you to your hotel, which was about an hour back. I'll drive you there. You don't have to get a taxi like you did, risking your life. Brother, she said, no, I got to go back. I forgot how else I tried to convince him to go. I said, well, I need to go get some gas, and then we'll continue talking. Man, as soon as I got to put some gas in, the guy walked out. He fell down and started crawling. He just taken up. Brother Kevin, I wanted to record that guy. Brother Kevin said, hey, Vic, did you get him to go soul winning in 5 minutes? No, sir. That's the director of a mission board. Couldn't go soul winning. And now we have Christians that once you experience the joy of winning somebody else to Christ, it is wonderful. Paul was joyful because he was preaching the gospel, because he was serving the Lord, but he also was joyful because he knew there was a church that loved him. He knew the church of Philippi, and then we're the verses where he's just showing, expressing his gratitude to the church of Philippi. And he know there was a church that loved him, a church that cared for him, a church that prayed for him. And this great missionary Paul, he could endure the hardships because he knew there was a church praying for him and loving him. Now, if the great missionary Paul needed needed prayers, and how much more us little insignificant missionaries need such a church. Lee Summit Baptist Temple has been that type of church for my wife and for me. Thank you for being that kind of church. Thank you for being that kind of church to Brother Cody and Millie in Argentina. Thank you for being that kind of church to Brother Thompson, David Thompson in Chile. Thank you for being that kind of church to my family. On August 30 of 1992, my twins were born. And that same week, Carlos Demarest and part of this church went on a mission trip to Mexico. My wife she had the twins, and we had no money to pay for those twins. I mean, it was very expensive, and back then it was something like, I don't know, like $7,000, and that was all the money in the world. I told Brother Carlos, and Brother Carlos told Brother Fred, and they gave me some money so I could help, with my twins. That was in 1992. That's when I met them. In 1993, the church visited our house in Chalco, and back then, my wife and I had moved into this house. We just had the walls. There were no windows, no doors, no electricity, no running water. And they said, Vic, we'd like to help you out. What would it cost to put windows and doors in your home? I said, well, it will cost me so much. They said, what would it cost for you to put running water in here? And I tell them how much it was. How much would it cost to put electricity here? And I said, brother, where there's no electricity available, but so they paid for the running water. You, Lee Summit Baptist Temple, paid for that. Paid for my doors. Paid for my windows. I didn't even know you. You didn't even know me. And in 1994, Brother Fred invited me to come and be in this church so I can learn how to work like he worked. Now, the funny thing is that I didn't care to learn about this church. I didn't care to do things the way Brother Fred was doing things. And I told him, Brother Fred, I was saved in the greatest church in the world. I was saved in the First Baptist Church of Hammond, Indiana, under the leadership of Jack Hiles. What have you to teach me? No, just come and visit us. I was so stinking proud, and it's just, I just have no idea how he put up with me. But he invited me here. I started looking at people, and I said, brother, this is the type of church that I want to have. I have some questions for you. And I remember between services, we came in late. So that time, too, because I was asking too many questions. He answered question after question. And funny thing, every time he answered a question, he opened the Bible and showed me at least 3 or 4 verses. Amen. How can you argue with that? And I thought, well, I'll go back and I see what I do. I had my route in Chalco, and I started, so many things happened. You know, we started teaching discipleship, and my wife, she said, you know what? In my church, they teach discipleship. Let's do it. I can do that. And she was learning how to drive. So we're teaching a discipleship class, and I said, okay, you're going to drive to the Chalco. Back then, there was very little cars going through. And she said, okay, so you learn how to drive. She's driving. We're getting to the lady's house. And for some reason, she confused the brake with the gas pedal. Why you so... Wait, let me tell you what happened. Don't get ahead of me. And boy, she hits the electricity pole, and then she hits the wall, and then she hits the door, and the car is all, the baseband is kind of, it was already messed up to start out with, but this time it was a lot worse. And then all the neighbors start losing their electricity. And the wall is coming down. And the neighbors get around me and say, you ain't going nowhere until you fix those lights. Anyway, we started doing that, and little by little, the church, the route started growing. That was thanks to Lee Summit Baptist Temple. You have taken my family and I under your wings. You have taught me. You have supported me. You have helped me. Thank you very much. You have prayed for me, cared for me, and loved me. You have done ministry with me. There's no way I can tell you everything that we've done in ministry because of the East Summit Baptist Temple. We're preaching in a place in Morelia, and nobody wants us to have service. They don't want to rent places to us. So Brother Fred, he says, is there any property we can buy? What do you mean? Yeah, there's a lot of property. We don't have the money. Pick a piece of property. We went and talked to a guy. Hey, you want to sell your piece of property? Yes, how much you want for it? So much. Okay. I remember him getting everybody, how much you got? How much you got? How much you got? Okay, put it in here. Okay, we still no more money. Yeah, let's call Candy. Can you wire some money? And that same day, I remember seeing the answer, and somehow I forgot how Candy worded it, but said, yeah, we're team, and you can count on me, blah. The money's going to be there. That same day, we bought a piece of property. And I thought, good night. These people are serious about missions. They bought the piece of property just like that. And Pastor Fred, he taught me most of philosophy that I have today, that we do. Pastor Fincham and Brother Hatfield, they came and visited us in Wirarica territory. This is the first pastor that goes all the way out there. We had one pastor coming. He went to Camiches, but nobody has gone all the way to Hongos with us. That means a lot to me. I mean, nobody has ever visited us out there, and yet, and we told them, brother, it's not going to be easy. This is what you're going to be facing. They said, we'll come with you. I don't think they're coming back, but I'm glad they went there one time. In the year 2006, I was having problems with my children, with Victor and Amy. And I knew what to do with them. I said, Brother Fred, I need your counsel. They're not bad kids, but if they continue the path they're following, I don't know what's going to happen to them. He said, well, why don't you send them to Lee Summit? I have no money for that. Just let me talk to the church, and we'll see what we can do. Victor and Amy came to Lee Summit. They fell in love with the Lord and with the church. To the day, Amy's always talking to Miss Linda. She's always telling us, if we want to know how they're doing, Amy, how is Miss Linda doing? How's Brother Fred doing? She loves them so much. And she loves this church so much. She said, Daddy, please tell everybody I say hi. Please tell them I love them. And they are serving the Lord. And they are trying to rear their children on the fear of the Lord because of you. If you have children, especially if you have children that don't want to serve the Lord, you know what that means to me. They're serving the Lord now because of you. In the year 2017, the Lord called me out of Mexico City. Now, when I was in Mexico City, that was the biggest church, and everybody wanted to be part of it. So they always call me. I have these big-time pastors, they will come, hey, Brother Victorio, how you doing, and this and that. And every time I call somebody, they always answer the phone because they thought maybe I was going to invite him to come and preach for the church there. And I had a lot of pastors in Mexico. They always writing and everything. And then I moved from Mexico City to Guadalajara. I had no idea what I was doing. This was new to us. I called some preachers that I tell them, listen, I'm leaving Montesion. I need your help. They never responded. I was afraid to call Lee Summit Baptist Temple and tell them I'm leaving because I know how much this church loves Brother Kevin in Mexico City. Now that they said, well, they're not going to support me. Finally, I called Brother Fred. I said, Brother Fred, I'm moving to Guadalajara. What are you doing that for? I told him the Lord is calling me. And even Brother Kevin asked me, Victorio, why are you leaving so fast? My wife and I, we're driving, up in Avenue. It's called Ermita Zaragoza. We're going up a bridge, and I said, Cookies, the Lord is calling me to start a church in Guadalajara. What do you mean, start a church in Guadalajara? Well, I mean, we need to move out there, and we need to never come back to Mexico City. I said, what? You're crazy. And, I don't know why people say that about me, but I'm kind of getting used to it. And I said, well, if the Lord's not telling you to go to Guadalajara, I won't go. And she said, well, the Lord's working in my heart. I think we need to move to Guadalajara. When do you want to move? I told her today. Again, she thought I was crazy, but she said, we travel a lot, and a lot of times there's emergencies with different churches. And I called my wife and I said, listen, we need to leave in 2 hours, have things ready for a week, for 2 weeks. And if I can get ready today for a week or 2 weeks, but we're not coming back. It's going to take me a little longer. How long will it take you to get ready? Well, tomorrow Saturday, we got to go soul winning, blah, blah, blah. Sunday's all busy. We can leave on Monday afternoon. Just get things ready. I said, okay, get everything ready. We're leaving Monday afternoon. Monday, about 8 o'clock in the morning, I sent Brother Kevin a text. I said, Brother Kevin, the Lord's calling me to go to Guadalajara, and I'm going to Guadalajara to start a church. He sent me a text. Wait for me. I'll talk to you on Thursday. I'm going to preach a revival, and when I come back, we'll talk about it. We talk on Thursday, and he said, why do you want to leave so fast? And I didn't tell him this, but in my heart, I was going to tell. I thought, if I don't leave right now, I love this church so much, I'm just not going to leave. But I didn't tell him. I said, well, I'm old. If I'm going to do something, I need to get it done fast. He said, well, why don't you give me a month, and then you can leave. I said, okay, I'll stay here a month. As soon as the month was over, we moved to Guadalajara. This church, instead of cutting me, doubled my support. You have no idea what that meant to us. We went to Guadalajara. You bought the first few chairs that we used in the first services. You helped pay the rent for the first rent of the building. And you trusted me. You believed in me. I mean, I was there for 6 years before you even went and checked on me, see if I was really spending the money the right way. That's how much you trust me, and I appreciate that, and I thank you for that. When I got there, we started Iglesia Bautista Biblica El Faro, my wife and I. We knew nobody. If I can tell how we got there, it's a long story, and how the Lord told us that was the right place to start the church in. We started the church, and we started knocking on doors, and we started noticing all the crime. And good night, one time we were in the car, and my wife stayed there, and I went to buy something. When I was coming back, this guy was in the car trying to go over the seat, trying to kiss my wife. And good night, it was just terrible. I thought, good night. Where are we in? What are we into? I told my wife, if you want to, we can look for another place. No, I can handle it. And we kept on doing. And in just a few months, I think it's about 3 months, we got there on October, and on December, that place was completely full. All the chairs that you guys bought, we fill them up, and there were people standing up. One day we were having a service. The owner of the place came in and started looking around. I thought she was coming in to join the service. And she said, what are you guys doing? Get out of my house. This house is going to collapse. This is not made for all these people to be out here. I want you out of here. I said, well, let me have service here. And I promise you, we're not going to have a lot of people, but we will leave on Monday. Next Monday, we left that house. The Lord provided another house, and nobody from that first place followed us to the second place. We had to start all over again. But it wasn't long, like a month and a half, that place was full again. This time, I was nervous, and I didn't want to move to a bigger place because I thought they were not going to follow us. So we started the second church, Iglesia Bautista Bíblica Divina Gracia. And you helped me. Again, I said, well, we're opening a second church. We need more money for chairs. And again, you sent money to buy more chairs. And we had chairs to sit people on. And you helped me start Iglesia Bautista Bíblica Divina Gracia. When my son Sammy went to the mission field, this was one of the first churches that supported my son Sammy. Thank you for doing that. Now my son Elim is in the mission field. There's not one church that has supported him yet, and yet this church is thinking about supporting him. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. You have helped me start also the Iglesia Bautista now, Iglesia Bautista Divina Gracia. And what we're doing, we call this, it's a church planting center. My wife and I decided that we're old. We cannot continue starting more churches in the way we've done so far. But the way we're going to do it now, we have church planting centers where we're recruiting and we are preparing and supporting and sending out to start more church planting ministries. And we have that church, and right now, in Iglesia Bautista Bíblica, Divina Gracia, the church planting center, we have started 3 different church planting centers. We started what we call Iglesia Bautista, and we name them the same way, Divina Gracia in Camichis. We have Divina Gracia in Los Hongos, and we have another church planting center in Chiapas. And from there, we have Camichis has started like 4 different churches. And the one in the Tepehuan territory in Hongos, we're starting 3 other churches. And the one in Chiapas, we're trying to see the way we can open more churches, because in that area, I cannot even go to that area because they do not allow, they call us mestizos. Only Indians can go in that place. And, you know, the world is full of prejudiced people. You would think that the Indians are not prejudiced. You know, when I got there, they hardly talked to me. And then I started making friends with them. And I said, hey, I see that the Indian people do not marry mestizos. He said, oh, no, we don't do that. I said, why not? He looks at me. You're not going to get mad at me? No, just tell me why. He asked me, have you ever seen a dog getting married to a lion? I said, who's the dog? Who's the lion? You know, I've never seen it. We're lions. We don't marry dogs. And, you know, and that's the type of attitude they have out there. And we start, so they don't let us coming into their communities. Brother Benjamin Santis is in that area, and the only reason they allow him to be here, to be there, is because he's Indian. He speaks their language. It's called Tzotzil. And he speaks the Tzotzil language out there. And that's why he's able to do that. Now, for a time, he wanted to start a church out there, but nobody wanted to support him because he was not married. And I said, listen, you're not going to be a church. You're going to be our mission. You're not the pastor. I'm the pastor. You're going to be like my representative there. I said, brother, I just want to go out there and preach the gospel. I don't care about about all these technicisms here. Yes, let's do it. I said, well, you have to come to my church. You have to spend 3 months in the church. I want to see if we will, if you're good to go. He came and we started soul winning, doing this, doing that. He was just a great man. He became a member of our church, and then we sent him out to start the church. He's doing a great job, and that's what we're doing. So Right now, we have 4 different church planting centers. We have one in Guadalajara, one in Camichis, one in Hongos, and one in Chiapas, social territory. Now you have help to do all that. This last month, for 2 months, we've been trying to start what we call a distribution center. This is where we get all this literature. We put it in this. We put it in a rented house that Brother Jerry saw, and then we take your vehicle. We put about 50 boxes on them, and we take them all the way to the distributing center. We have right now we're working on starting 10 different distributing centers to those places. That way, the literature does not stay in our warehouse for a long time. We want to do this in the next no more than 3 months. We want to get rid of all this literature and maybe be ready to receive some more literature. We're planning on having John enrollments. Brother Shad, I talked to him and asked him, brother, what are the possibilities? He said, I think it's possible. Well, let's make it happen. Give me your phone number, and I'm going to be bothering him. That's the way we get things done, just bother somebody else. I got nothing else to do, and we're trying to get at least 100,000 there. He said, well, we can do 3. I said, well, how many can you take? I said, well, we can take 2 million, and I bet you we can distribute that many. He said, well, let's start with 300,000, but brother, if it's just 100,000, we can get them distributed. We want to have at least 50 distribution centers in different parts of Mexico. We take them to cities that have paved roads. We take it to those people. And then on the villages, if they need literature, they can come down to that one distribution center and get the literature there. We want to do that. Now we've seen that there's a need for more knowledge. So we're trying to get some books. I have some friends that they printed some books, and they're going to send me their whatever, and then we're going to copy them and make some books and distribute these books that will talk about doctrine, church growth, philosophy of the ministry, things that will help them grow the church. And we like to have some pastors' conferences where we can meet and we can have different pastors come in and teach. And I talked to Brother Fincham about coming and teaching these pastors' conferences and teaching especially about discipleship. Everywhere you go, brother, you can tell this church uses discipleship. This church doesn't use discipleship. I mean, you can just tell by looking at the results, or looking at the people in there. And a lot of times when I see this is a discipleship church, and you see a book here, a book there, you see the people with some of their discipleship sheets on their hands, and you can tell. So we want to do that with the distribution centers, try to get this literature out, get the gospel all over the place. Now, El Faro, the first church that you helped me start, my son is pastoring that church right now, and he's doing something different to take the gospel to all over Guadalajara. They rented half hour of television, local television, Channel 4, and he rented half hour every Saturday. I don't know if it's Saturday or Sunday, and he shares the gospel on TV. He shares the gospel on radio. He shares the gospel on every kind of media. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know. They say I don't even know the names of the different media they're doing. Right now in that church, the first church that you helped us start, they're running about 350 people right now. They're having 2 services. And that's only been, my son took that church about 3 years ago. And we left some people there, but he took whatever we left, and he's making it grow. He's building a building that is costing him over $200,000. And he's raised the money, and the building is going to be to seat over 600 people. And he's ready to fill it up. Every week, they're feeding 200 hungry children. Every week, they have a feeding center. They have some people, and I mean, there's so much going on in that place. and you're the ones that invested on that place. And we're studying this other ministry, and you've been with us through all this. You helped us start all those churches and these ministries, and you have helped the Wiradica ministry, the Tepehuan ministry, the Tosil ministry. Now, each soul that is saved in any of this ministry, I'm sure that is fruit to your account. And I just thank you. I don't think the word is enough to show my gratitude. I need to work a little bit harder. I need to do a little bit more. And on this trip, that's what I was going to do. I told brother Jerry, I said, Brother Jerry, what can I teach this wonderful church? You have had some of the people that taught me what I know. I cannot teach him. I don't know what to teach him. I just want to tell you thank you for your loving kindness. Thank you for your sacrificial giving. Thank you for your fervent prayers for us. My wife and I, we there to do more for Christ because I know you guys are praying for us. My wife and I, we risk whatever we have to risk because we know that you are praying for us. Because we know you're praying for us, we're doing all this. So I'll just ask you to please continue praying for us. Please continue helping Cody. Continue helping Brother Thompson. Continue helping ministries like Brother Shad. They need you. We cannot do it without you. And I don't know how to explain this, but, you know, we go to the Neo area. We try to start a church. And they tell us, there is a Pentecostal church here. There is a Light of the World church here. There is a big Catholic church here. There's other churches. Why do we need a fundamental Baptist church here in this area? We don't need this area. We don't need you in this area. Get out of here. Go. Leave. So the Catholics hate us. The Pentecostal hate us. The Jehovah's Witness hate us. The Light of the World hate us. And you're there and all I have is just my wife. And sometimes I think she hates me too. And you think, is it worth it? And then we receive your support. One of you guys writes us a letter and say, hey, we're praying for you. That means a lot to us. Thank you, Pastor.